Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks. I'm Chris.
And I'm Rob, and you're watching our latest LEGO Masters build breakdown.
But before we start, let's dive into a recap of what we built this week on LEGO Masters Season 4.
The key to a good photo shoot is obviously having me in it.
Let's go. I want to see some poses. Guys, come on, move.
For this week's fashion-forward build, we made the LEEPH. L-E-E-P-H. Because LEEPH is fancier than LEEPH. Now, the LEEPH is the bag that everyone is falling for this season, and for good reason, because this bag is only for the most sophisticated, the most elegant, the most high-class individual. It's the kind of bag that you would bring to a high society event, a dinner party, a CEO election, a corporate takeover, all different events that I often frequent myself. And so, when the Brickmasters challenged us to make a high society bag, we rose and didn't fall from the challenge. This is the LEEPH.
And the winner is Christopher and Robert.
All right, so with that, we have summed up our pitch of the LEEPH. So, do you want to start or should I? This was a really interesting one because I did not think this was in our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
When they said it was a fashion episode, well, I mean, I know what it's like to be a model because in my daily life, I mean, everyone can see me as one. But I was a little bit worried about our boy
really?
here. Yeah, no. Of course.
Yeah.
But no, definitely not in our wheelhouse, for sure.
No, not at all. Look, modeling is cool, fashion is cool, but
We're not experts. We're not subject
definitely
matter
not experts, especially about bags. So, I am personally not a big bag collector. I know some people are, but I am not. Are you?
I have my one like Coach bag that I use as my like shoulder
Yes.
bag, and that I don't use any others.
So when they said it was a bag, so we're like, oh, I see. So this is the episode where we go home.
Yes. Well, I think we got a little excited first when they were saying fashion, because then I was like, oh, we could like make like wearable armor or like a cool helmet for someone to wear. Or it's like, okay, we could probably pass that off as fashion. Because I feel like we could like, it would be cool to make like a wearable like Iron Man suit out of Lego or something like that.
Yeah.
But then when they were saying it's a bag, we were looking at each other and we had, usually I would say when they gave us a prompt, each of us had like a couple ideas where almost immediately we're like, oh, we could do this, we could do this. But when they said bag, we were like, our head empty, no thoughts.
Yeah, I think the saving grace, which was nice about this, was that we had to choose a theme, which was a season. And, you know, I think we were both actually super aligned on wanting fall.
Oh yeah, 100%. We immediately wanted fall.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was awesome. And what's interesting is that, you know, to choose a season, we had to rush up and grab our chosen season. None of the other teams chose fall.
And there were 2 fall options, so someone could have chosen it.
Right, so there were, you know, eight magazines, 2 for each season, and, you know, luckily we were the only ones who wanted fall, which I found interesting because fall, in my opinion, has, like, some of the most vibrant colors.
Well, I thought it was the best one. I thought that was, like, the obvious choice.
Right, like,
definitely.
When you think of fall, like, pumpkins and, like, Halloween and, like, leaves and oranges. It's, like, it's amazing. It's my favorite season.
Same here.
So...
But that's what we both said. It was like, it was both of our favorite seasons, so we were like, let's definitely do something fall related.
So it was amazing. No one chose fall. We got fall, and we're like, I think that immediately filled our heads with some ideas at least of what to build. You know, if it was just an empty slate bag and we had to just improvise, that would have definitely been harder. But with fall, you know, we can cook with this.
Yeah. So I know that we always had the idea to make it leaf shaped, kind of like a fall leaf shape.
Yeah.
I know that initially we were thinking about a couple of options. We were tossing around big pumpkin because we were like, okay, maybe like a bag, like a Halloween bag for collecting candy. But then we were like, well, maybe that doesn't really scream like luxury designer.
Yeah.
So then we were like, okay, let's make it a leaf shape, but maybe we can have the logo be a pumpkin logo.
Right.
And then that was the plan for the longest time until I think halfway through Jamie and Amy came over and gave us good advice to not be so literal with the theme. And initially, like, we were going to do the veins of the leaf, and I was going to do a literal pumpkin logo. And they were like, well, you don't need to be so literal with it.
Yeah.
It is a fashion icon after all. And that's what made us pivot to just kind of having a more abstract logo where I got to like cook on making a really nicely detailed one. We're getting ahead of it, but that was kind of how that pivot happened, which I think was a good idea.
I think it was. Yeah, we always wanted it to be a leaf in the beginning. One of the troubles we actually had in the beginning was, I think from the start we had the idea that it would be kind of this like clip clasped kind of bag.
Well, we wasted the first hour just trying to figure out what a leaf looked like.
Yeah, so I was trying to figure out what a leaf looked like. Like, you know, we wanted to make a maple leaf because, you know, in the fall, I feel like the first leaf that you think of for the fall is like this bright red, kind of falling maple, literally, oh, Canada, like that kind of leaf. But then I could not, for the life of me, really remember what a leaf looked like. So
viewers, right now, like you're sitting here, don't look it up. Can you like draw a good maple leaf? Okay, maybe if you live in Canada you can, but like can you draw like freehand just from memory, no Googling, no nothing. Draw a maple leaf right now and see how successful you are.
Exactly, like try that, because like in my head,
surprisingly difficult.
In my head, I was like,
maybe
oh, it's
just
easy.
bad.
Like I'll just make some spikes here, but it just never looked quite right. It always just looked a little weird.
Yeah.
And so I think I literally just spent the first hour just drawing so many leaves until I landed on something that looked acceptable.
Well, the thing is that I basically just had to trust you to let you cook, because what I started doing, I started working on the opening mechanism. And what I wanted to do for the opening mechanism was to line up a ton of bionicle ball joints, ball and socket joints, and use that for the opening clasp. So I was working on that, and then I was like, I don't know what you're going to attach to this, but I'm just going to work on the frame of the bag. So the internal vertical frame, kind of determining the shaping of it. We thankfully learned our lesson from last episode's chair, did not go big. We went pretty small but detailed on this one.
Small, like
it was like this big. Like other people's were a lot bigger, but we went small and detailed because we were like, okay, finally, we got another opportunity to do small and detailed, which is what we're good at. So let's actually do it for this one. So I was working on that. An hour goes by, and then I look over at Robert, and he's got nothing done. Like, I look over, he's like crumpled up a ton of pieces of paper that he's like sketched out leaves, and I'm like, I was starting to get worried because I don't know what a leaf looks like. I mean, that's all him. So I was trusting him to decide what the leaf looked like. 1 hour passes, and I don't think you touched a single brick.
No.
You literally just were sketching for the first hour.
Yes.
And I was getting worried because that was what, 8 hours? Was it 8 or 10?
It was I don't remember.
It was something around, but anyway, a short amount of time. So I was getting worried. I mean, and then I think, what was I even doing? What did I even do in the meantime while waiting for you to do the leaf?
I mean, you're just building the center.
Just the center, I think, right? Yeah. And then I started the handle.
Yeah.
I started the handle because you still, and then, an hour and a half in, I look over and he has drawn like the perfect leaf on brick paper. I don't know like where you pulled that from, but it literally is like a perfect leaf, and he's starting to line up plates. And at that point I was like, okay, I think we got this if we can pull this off.
Exactly. I think once we had the shape of the leaf finished within like the first hour
and a half. It was an hour. I know it was an hour because I remember I looked at an hour had passed and there was nothing. I remember because, it was past an hour.
There's this kind of compromise between like, first we have to make it actually look like a leaf.
Right.
But at the same time, like we have to have enough body in the leaf such that the interior of that leaf can still comprise a bag.
Yes.
Right? Because like you have a maple leaf which is super spiky, like on 3 sides basically. But then those spikes are not really baggable. It's very accessory. And then we have to basically have a shape such that, okay, we have like this little bag in the middle. How do we make the leaves surround it such that, you know, it's not massive and like just extremely unfunctional versus like very distorted and not maple leaf like. And so I think after about an hour and a half, we got that shape.
Well, you did. I didn't. He literally just sketched it out. I think you used a ton of brick paper, which is, if you don't know, brick paper is essentially paper that has printed out grids of Lego bricks, where you just drew it on brick paper based on studs, and then he actually got it. So, I mean, that was the shape. The overall shape was all Robert. I didn't touch it at all. So, seriously, kudos to that. Oh, my goodness. So by that point, I had done the inner part, I had done the handle, it was lifting itself up, it was really good because one of the requirements for the challenge was that they specifically wanted it to be able to be carried like a real bag.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be functional, which not all the bags ended up being, but it was really important for ours that it was you could lift it up by the handle. It was very stable.
Yep.
Like it was really held itself
You
together.
built a really good, robust central column for the bag.
Well,
We'll talk about
there
that.
was a last minute there was
Yes,
some
we'll
changes.
talk about it,
Yes.
But yeah, and then I think progress for this leaf actually went quite well. You were chugging along with the middle part of the bag,
Yeah.
and then I was just kind of taking my time with the little wedge pieces.
And I did the border.
Exactly. Yeah. So like once I basically had to first outline like the red part on the outside with all the wedge pieces and just clip them together, and then it's almost like an art because then under the wedge pieces, first of all, the wedge pieces have to all be connected together in like something that's pretty stable. Under it, you have to line the edges with some snot bricks because we had plans to have like a golden border around the maple leaf. So then, I had to kind of fit the snot bricks under the wedge. And then obviously then there's plating and whatnot just to make that side as strong as possible.
Yeah.
Because, the back has to be picked up. It can't be like you pick it up and like half the spikes fall off. So,
and we chopped off the top because we are having it bend outwards on the top
yes,
as well.
and so one of the things that we did from the very beginning is that actually our maple leaf didn't look like a maple leaf because the top spike was gone. Like the original structure was really just that, almost like a heart shape. And so I made one. I think that probably took a solid 2 hours.
Oh, it looked good. Like the shaping was
I will
perfect.
say it did look really good. And then did the other side as well. And
so he made one side where it was like plate, snot bricks, plate, handed it to me. I then kind of swapped out some of the snot bricks to make just the perfect golden outline around it.
Right.
While I was doing that, he was making the second one.
basically just replicating the first one.
And then by the time he finished the second side, so the other side of the bag, I finished with the outline. So then I handed it back to you to help with the patterning.
Yeah.
And then I took the second one, did
then
the outline
bordered
on the
it
side, and then it was really good because we had like kind of this factory process where we could just churn it out.
Right.
And then while you were working, I think I finished a little bit quicker and I was working on a logo. But I was actually pretty proud of
freaking
that.
hot. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, like we made like kind of this custom like specialized logo design that incorporated minifigure legs and kind of this cross pattern because I was thinking, okay, like Gucci or like they always have like a little icon that they use. And so I was using a combination of like dots tiles, like quarter tiles, minifig legs, minifig hands to mount things at an angle. I was using feather elements that they introduced for the LEGO Western series back in like the 1990s to stick into the anti-stud holes in the bottom of plates to actually attach on some little leaf elements onto the logo itself to really bring the fall coloration. So I remember I think I spent a good like hour on that, but I think I was happy with
I was very happy
taking the time to do that.
Yeah. I would say again, I think the timing of this challenge was
Super
very,
optimized.
very well
Yeah.
done. I think by like it was maybe only halfway through the challenge or so.
And we were almost done.
Both of the leaves were pretty much done with the borders, the central column was done, like we attached it on and it did that. And it was cool. And so we're like, okay, so we have 4 more hours left or so, or 3 more hours left. Let's just decorate the bag. Make it look good. And so,
that was having time for us to decorate is our strong suit.
Yeah, exactly. I think originally you had the veins idea, but then I think
it looks so much better without having the little petal. So what we did is originally we had an idea to kind of have veins going through the leaf, but the Brickmasters again suggested that we don't be so literal with it. We don't literally need to make veins. I think it also, in retrospect, it probably would have looked a little bit uglier to have just gold ingots wrapped as veins. So instead what we did is we had the strap.
leaves.
Well,
The
first of
straps
all,
have leaves,
the strap, we had the design on the strap carried down onto the sides of the bag, which looked so good. Like that I think tied it together. And then we had the logo in the center, and then literally all we had to do after that was fill it in with a little simple pattern that was kind of like a leaf design. So it's 2 dots, quarter tiles like this, and then 2 more like this, almost like a heart-shaped design, but also kind of like a leaf. And we just boom, 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 did that for the ton of stuff on the side of the bag. At this point, we had maybe 2 hours left, or maybe an hour and a half. We did the top part. So
so the top part of the leaf, so up until this point we had the middle central column and then we had the 2 leaves. Actually the leaves weren't attached yet, but they were done and they were well decorated. They had the logo, they had a nice leaf pattern, and then I was like, okay, I think that it doesn't quite look like a leaf yet. It kind of looks like a weird kidney or like a heart. And so like we should actually like add those 3 spikes on top.
And initially I was against
I think initially you're like, no, that's weird.
Yeah.
But then I was
no,
like...
you convinced me, and it was well worth the convincing, because I think that sold the, like, that having it angle outwards killed it on the design.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think
that was a good decision.
You let me cook for like 30 minutes. I made the little leaf design, and once we clicked it on,
I was like, all right, I see how it is.
Like,
Okay,
I see.
I see. Like, I see. My biggest lesson here is I just gotta let him cook. Like, I was so dubious in the first hour. I was like, what is he doing? Hour and a half later, all right, he cooked. And then I was like halfway through, it's like, what is he talking about? Like, why does he want the spikes on the top? Like, it's fine as it is. And he was like, let me make one. I was like, oh, we got some time. I'll let him make one. And then you cooked. So I was like, okay, all right. I get it.
I will say that looked quite good. Yeah. So at this point, like, we had what, like an hour left?
We had 1 hour left,
maybe
and
a
then
little less. And we're like, okay, so we have our like 2 leaves.
Yep.
It's great. They look beautiful. We have the central column. It's also great. Looks beautiful. We had about an hour, maybe a little less.
Well, we had the clasp that we had to do.
We had to do the clasp. I would merge the 2 leaves together. I would clasp the leaves
because
together.
otherwise they would tend to fall out.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And we're like, okay, we have 40 minutes left, maybe 50 minutes left.
Let's do a clasp. Easy.
Do a clasp. We just put the leaves on.
Yeah.
We put the leaves on.
Yeah.
We lift up the bag by the handle, and it breaks.
So, I don't know what I was thinking. Let me just explain the way that I had it, so you can see like how silly I was being. Super, super strong, regimented platform of attaching the folding bags, right? So I had a really strong base, and then I had Technic beams running on the inside, connecting it via studs to the base. And then I had studs on the side, design on the side, but only connected to the top part. So the moment you lifted it up, the bottom just detached. I don't know what I was doing. Like, well, I legitimately, like, I don't know, like, I don't know what I was thinking.
You know,
I just didn't even think
with
of
the 2 leaves unattached. You know, we slung it around and it was stable, but those leaves were heavy boys.
Yeah, so it was even though it was attached by like I think it was like something close to 16 studs on the or like 8 maybe like 10 studs on each side, something ridiculous. It still would drop off, of course. Right. So then what I had to do was then completely take it apart, detach the 2 sides of the leaves, and split up the studs on the side, construction on the side, and essentially have it build down so it's almost like the studs on the side would hold it on the underside of the platform. Like the platform's here, the 2 sides of the bags were attached here, and I had to build underneath it for studs on the side to attach the side panels. And we were down to the wire on that.
We were really down to the wire, literally the last couple of minutes. And then I remember... Couple of seconds.
Well, there was the little...
Yeah. So we were...
he knows what's coming.
It was nerve-wracking, because, like, our emotions for this were quite steady the entire way.
Yeah, we were pretty happy.
And we're like, this looks awesome.
Yeah.
Like, we are in contention to win and whatever. And then last 40 minutes,
I lifted up
and it breaks. And we're like, why is it always
we're always down to the last minute.
Yeah. But you know, you gotta fix, and I remember that since we had to elevate a little bit, we had to then extend the sides down a little bit, so I had to do some like finagling there with the slopes. Literally down to the last second.
The last second. So very high stress for the last 40 minutes and very chill for the rest of the time.
Yeah. But I thought this bag was beautiful. Like it just came together really well. We were able to finally lift it up at the end without it falling apart.
Yes.
And then we got to model with it, which was fun.
The modeling was a lot of fun. So we took all of our time on 3 poses at the beginning, and then someone was like, take 10 more poses. We were like, oh, what? And so we like ran around like holding in different areas.
Yeah.
Super fun. Like Will Arnett came in and started like throwing leaves at us. Like it was a crazy.
Will was like pressuring us, like, "What are you guys doing?" And he was like started chucking leaves at us. It was like change the pose. It's like okay. But,
so it was that was super fun, and were we the only team that modeled it together?
We were.
It's because our egos were too big. Neither of us wanted the other one to do it.
Yes.
So we needed to do it together. But the story reason, of course, is that it was built as a team, and we had finally accepted each other as a team. You know, you last a certain number of episodes. People want to see the character arcs, you know? We had the character arc, like you were once the minion and now you're the equal, you're the partner, the student has become the master. You know, like we were evolving. So that was the part of the character arc, you know? So it fit the narrative, you know? We control the narrative.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, but dude, this was a really good bag, and obviously, I mean, the only inspiration we had, which I get my mom a lot of bags, so I was thinking back and I was like, oh, okay, like maybe there's some inspiration I could draw from there. So I kind of went through my photos and kind of looked at bags that I had given my mom, like Gucci bags and stuff like that, where like they're kind of really kind of simple and stylish at the same time, and you really have a very clean and refined aesthetic, and I think we just kind of used that to propel the vision for the bag, and that was, we had the story, we had the aesthetics. I'm really happy with what we had.
I think so too. I think you know, we tend to go pretty messy, especially in the first couple of episodes. We just kind of threw everything at the wall. It was a very messy story. But I think for this one, we really honed down on, like, does this really have to be in here? Like, what are the things that we need to add to this build to make it, like, unique, like, actually special and stand out and not look gaudy and kind of, like, bad. Like, we had, like, the original pumpkin idea, we had, like, the veins, we had a bunch of other ideas that we could have added to it, but that would have, like, adding it would have detracted. So, like, I think this was the episode where we really honed down on that, keeping things simple, just keeping things clean. I think he summed it up really well. Listen, doing fall was great. I love dark orange, is probably one of my favorite Lego colors. Not quite my favorite. Transparent purple takes the cake, but dark orange is a really good Lego color, and we got like the yellows and the reds. I wish they had more dark red parts, because I feel like if we replaced the bright red with dark red, that could have been even better. But I mean, we worked with what we had, and I think aesthetically speaking, out of all the models we've built so far, definitely the best.
I think this was the best, and not only do I think it was the best, but also I think it is the one I want to recreate the most physically, in terms of what is physically possible for me to recreate. Like, I would love to recreate the volcano, but unfortunately, contrary to popular belief, I'm not made of money. So, I mean, I would personally love to make that one, but I don't think it's very feasible. And like, same with the UFO, like I would need 10,000 great plates. This is like a pretty, like, reasonably sized thing. I feel like we could maybe make it, but maybe that's a project for a future video. So we managed to not only survive, but win, which is kind of crazy that we won the fashion challenge. Would not have expected that for sure. But now we're really getting into the upper echelons of the season. I think it's really starting to heat up, so definitely keep on staying tuned to LEGO Masters to see where we take it from here. Do you have anything else to say about the bag?
And of course, you know, I love this bag, and, you know, being able to win this is like, you know, we didn't even know that we'd make it this far, much less win challenges at this point. So this is pretty freaking awesome. Nothing much to say about this bag for now.
All right, well, thanks so much for tuning in. Bye for now.